Hello there everybody and welcome. In this video I'm going to give you a review about the freshly released Reus 2, a sequel to a game that I've been playing quite passionately back in the day. It's been a few years and this video is supposed to give you an overview about the game itself, whether I like it, is it a good game or not, and compare it to its predecessor and give you an answer to is it a good sequel at the same time. But since Reus 2 is a pretty unique game in itself, I want to give you a quick breakdown about what we have in front of us before talking about the actual comparison. Now, Reus 2 is in itself kind of like a god game. You have these couple of giants, they can terraform the planet for you, and depending on which giant you use, different biomes can be created. You start out with the forest, the ocean, and the desert, and as you can see, there are a lot of other biomes that we can unlock over the course of the time. The biomes that you create are then populated by people, and these people build cities. And then it's all about filling those little nodes with the proper resources. Every city has different quests that they give you, and your giants can place plants, animals, and minerals into the biomes that create resources for you. Each resource is doing what it's doing. They have synergies. The game is crazy about synergies. So the stone gets extra production when next to a plant. This plant gets extra production when next to a mineral. This one is based off of critters. This one hates it when critters are near to that. There's a ton of different synergies in the game, and that's where seriously all the fun comes from. You have to produce the different stuff for the cities. They grow, and the game is racking up on complexity as it is in itself a puzzle-based roguelite of sorts. The upgrades that you have for your cities, you get new ones, you draft new ones, just like you do in games like roguelites. You see, you get to draft which kind of new upgrades you pick up for your forest biome or whatever biome you are running, and then you can build these. There's lots of different prerequisites that come into play. For example, the new apples that I have unlocked require biodiversity. That is a stat that I increase by having different things in my biome, so I can't plaster the whole place just with blueberries. And this game grows in terms of complexity along the way. Next up, we get to build a little bit of a project which synergizes even more with either fruits or undergrowth or herbivores or ocean or whatnot. So in a nutshell, it's all about numbers going up, and you always have a limited amount of turns. So each thing you place makes the time go forward, and eventually the next era comes, and once you've hit the end of all eras of each planet, you're done with the game. There's a couple of quests that you have to fulfill, which give you rewards, that give you new things that you can't have in the drafts. Your account will eventually level up, which unlocks new giants, which unlocks, again, new biomes. There's different leaders for founding the cities, which all have different traits. And by now you could have already noticed how much complexity this creates by just tossing a ton of things that influence one another right next to each other. So that's the game, what it's all about. It's all about finishing certain tasks and beating the challenges on the way there. You're producing population, tech, and gold, and the quests all demand something in particular, and comes in different difficulty levels. The lower difficulty levels are enough to pretzel up my brain already, and if you are bored by that, just go up in the difficulty levels and you will face bigger threats. So that's pretty much what it's all about. Once you're done with a planet, you can end it, you get a score, and if you have fulfilled enough of the quests, you get new packs that you can then encounter in the drafts. Alright. So, let's talk about the good and the bad of this game. I want to start out with the bad because there's not really that much bad to say about it, but there's a couple of things. First off, while I'm doing my review, there is no key remapping, and I hate this a little bit because, you know, I personally don't like the mapping for the speed modes. The game is turn-based, but the giants still move over the map, and the humans move over the map, and the resources get poured into the city depending on the game speed. And I personally would love to have this on 1, 3, and 4, but the game says it's on plus and minus, and I don't like that. Can't remap. It's a nitpick, but it is something. And the other thing is, due to the sheer amount of effects synergizing with one another, this game can be quite overwhelming and confusing at times, because there's not only the node synergies, there's eventually also new bonuses that you gain if you produce tech, population, or currency, and then there's synergies with the projects, then there's synergies with the eras, and yeah, it can be a little bit convoluted at times, and I gotta say though, this is something you get behind over time. But I felt very overwhelmed at the beginning of the game, and this is something where I must say, well, the game is really good at showing everything slowly to you, but I don't know. For me, it was something that sometimes I'm just wondering until now why a field is having the output it has. And sometimes you see bonus 20 and you're asking yourself, but why bonus 20? That being said, I don't have too many more things to criticize negatively, except for you do notice a couple of clunky edges on the game. For example, the thing with the key remapping, and there's a couple of things here and there during the release where I feel like, yeah, release is more important than ironing out all the edges, and I see these things that will be fixed over the course of the time. But the overwhelmingness factor, this is definitely something that might be an issue for some people. Now let's talk finally about the good things, though. This game is really fun in the way that it has so many options that you can play together. Due to the fact that you draft things, you will not always have the same options. You will unlock more and more options, therefore you have more and more different combos that you can play, and that's a pretty cool thing. The amount of possibilities racks up the more you play it, because first you are in the first era, but there are in a grand total 3 eras, and each era has a different quest set that you can fulfill, and that unlocks new stuff. And then the next eras, you see the medieval era has also new quests that you can fulfill with stars, and each star you fulfill unlocks a new booster pack with new biotica that you can stuff into your game. That is in itself really cool, because that means not only do you get to use what you got, you constantly also unlock new tools to play around, and I really like that part. Especially since it builds up on itself constantly, and that really is a good remedy against sameness. The gradual unlocks also give you a slowly ramping up in difficulty, because the eras also ramp up in difficulty. The quests in the first ancient era are relatively easy to fulfill. The medieval era is a lot more challenging, and eventually, when you have played enough games, you also unlock the third era, where you even have to achieve even higher numbers. This is pretty good, as you will learn to crank up the numbers of the game slowly, bit by bit, and that's a pretty good gameplay curve. I totally enjoyed my time in getting better and better, and discovering new methods. And speaking about that, this game is really good in giving you little new features along the way. First you feel a little bit overwhelmed by something, then you get acquainted with it, and then the game gives you the planet shop, which allows you to buy extra turns, charges for your draw, or extra drafts. You all of a sudden gain the ability to utilize the resources that you were before just amassing blindly. Then you unlock the ability to upgrade these little nodes, because there's 2-star and 3-star things that only can be planted into upgraded nodes. And then you unlock the ability to plant even upgrades into your nodes. And it's really a lot of little things that come up over the course of the time, which keep you quite occupied and retain that sense of newness for a pretty long time. So that is really, really nice, especially with all these unlocked things. So yeah, I really like this style of challenge-based gameplay, as it is constantly some different goal that you can fulfill. You can't fulfill every goal in each run, as each era has also a different requisite. As you see there, the merchant age is only possible if wealth is the highest stat, and there's different requirements for everything. So there's a lot of different goals that you can specify yourself into. Like this time I wanted to finish the Plague era, and you get a certain topic and a certain direction into your gameplay. And that is a big achievement, because in a game like this, you might ask yourself at some point, why am I even playing this? And there's a lot of little goals to achieve. And if you've achieved all the goals, there's higher difficulty levels to test your metal if you really enjoyed the game. Now, coming up over to the summary to the game. This is a real fun god game, as far as I would call it a god game, because these guys, well, they look a lot like gods, don't they? And it is also pretty much a puzzle game, as your gameplay revolves pretty much around finding what goes well with what. There's tags that you need to respect, there's placements that you need to respect, and a lot of things influence the gameplay in a very puzzle-based way. So if that's your kind of thing, where you need to put down optimize things that influence one another, it's a great game. If that feels cumbersome and bothersome to you, I think this game is totally not up your alley, and you might be happy somewhere else. I really don't want to sugarcoat it. Reus is a very specific gameplay experience. Either you like it or you hate it, I think. I personally don't. It is a very good sequel. That's the thing I want to say. This game lives up to its predecessor. It's everything that the game was before, but much more. It's like, to me personally, I'm really happy with it. I was hoping that this sequel would be just as fun as the game before was, and it's much more fun than the game before was, and that is just what you want to have. There is a lot of strategizing when you want to achieve certain goals. Going for certain directions is fun. It's really interesting to look at your options and consider, how can I get the highest population? Then you consider, but if I get a little bit of tech on the side, I can buy this. You have a lot of things that you can do, and while this game has puzzle-based core, it is really a strategy puzzle game. I can't even put it into different words. I didn't know that this was possible, and I'm deeply impressed. It is also, to put my last point onto the review, an expandable system. Right now we have three different era categories. You could put in new eras with new rewards. You could put in an entire new chapter here with super high ranking difficulty levels, a modern age of sorts. We could have lots of different new leaders, we could have new giants, we could have new biomes. There's so much that you could put into this game as a expansion on the horizon, that I'm quite delighted that I personally feel like this game could have some future. Yeah, well, I hope that you like what you saw. I will do a little bit more of a tutorial videos and sort of that in the future. So if you didn't feel like it connected to you what actually you were doing here, I can really recommend a different video there, because I gotta say, it is not that easy to fully explain what the hell this game does in a quick few words, because it is quite unique in its own way. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate your time. I hope you did take something out of this video. Feel free to leave me your comments, what you think about the game by yourself. And of course, leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and check out the description box. You can find my Discord server there. If you want to have a chat, I'd be really happy about that. And there's also my Twitch channel, and if you feel like supporting this channel, go crazy. PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, or the channel membership system are available. With a big thanks to all the supporters of Icon Gaming. I deeply appreciate you folks, and a big thanks especially to you for watching this video up until the very end. I really appreciate you hanging out, and if you are one of the few people there, leave the end in the comments so I know that you're one of those. I'm really curious how many of you guys are out there. See you there. Bye bye.